Hi, I'm Gabe Castro of PhillyCAM Voices. On May 29, 2018, Starbucks plans to close 8,000 U.S. stores to educate 175,000 employees in racial bias education or sensitivity training. This is in response to the incident that occurred just a few weeks ago at this location.
Starbucks recently released a video to explain what the trainings entail and their intended purpose.
529 is an opportunity to renew our commitment to the third place, because we understand that racial and systemic bias have many causes, sources, and ways of showing up within each of us and in our communities.
I reached out to a local social worker, Jessie Timmons, of the Pennsylvania Society for Clinical Social Work, to speak on what sensitivity training is and what the effects of such trainings are.
In my experience, it's been called racial microaggressions training, and it's really targeted to help people recognize the ways in which they're maybe behaving or thinking or acting in an unconscious way often that sort of betray racial biases and misunderstandings and inflict harm and offense on people. So it's like intended to kind of cultivate that awareness. People before these trainings would say things like, well, I don't know that, or I don't see that, or that's not my intention. And really breaking down this idea that it doesn't actually matter about your intention so much. And you might not see things because they're below the level of your vision, or your lens doesn't allow you to see them. And so we're kind of changing people's lenses in a way that I think allows them to engage with the world differently and just be more respectful of other people in an intentional sort of way. Or in my experience, these trainings, folks have to be receptive to them for them to work. And so there's a challenge here around when these kinds of things are mandatory. Yes, it's a really good start, but it's not the end. And I imagine that there's work to be done around people who are just really not open to this. You can give them the information, but that doesn't actually create change. So it's a positive beginning. And given that we live in a racist society, Starbucks itself isn't going to be able to end racism. So I'm hopeful that there will be some community level engagement as well toward kind of addressing this problem in society as a whole.
I also spoke with PhillyCAM board member and journalist Ernest Owens on how he feels about this response from Starbucks.
They're holding themselves more accountable. A lot of companies will try to brush these issues off or try to settle them as in one incident, but I think that Starbucks has recognized that this is one incident that is about a culture, and you have to address the culture of these issues if you want to make progress. You can't simply look at these things as one issue. What those men experience at Starbucks, many people have experienced, including myself. I've had situations where I was told that I had to leave if I didn't buy anything, and I was forced to buy a bottle of water just to be able to use the restroom. And I think that they recognize that this is not a one-and-done situation, but something that requires us to continue to have conversations, continue to learn better ways to improve. And I think the first step most companies to recognize is that they're in the power. They have the millions of dollars. They have the employees. They have the corporate responsibility to the community. And I think really what's important is that more companies begin to recognize that they need to hold themselves accountable rather than, having the community come out and protest and having the activists have to always be the ones. But I think Starbucks did a good job as far as they saying, we messed up. We need to step up and finding ways to hold themselves accountable even after the settlement, even after addressing that one issue. I think that Starbucks having sensitivity trainings is a great first step to many steps that need to come. I think it's important for them to not just only respond to one isolated incident, but several incidents so that they can prevent these things from happening across the country. I think as someone who has experienced sensitivity training in my workplace and other places that I've worked at, I recognize that for some people who don't understand the issue at hand with race, that sensitivity training will help people not only understand how to address these issues when they happen, but to be proactive. Because I think that's really what Starbucks was lacking in the last time they were responding to these issues. They weren't necessarily proactive. So I think that they're working towards being preventative and making sure that people can know how to interact with customers of all backgrounds so they do not repeat the same thing again.
So today, when we close down our stores to get more training and hopefully come away with more learnings around bias? Can we structurally change the organization?
529 will just be a start. In the coming weeks, months, and years, we will address many other facets of what makes us truly human. The work will grow to reflect the realities of our abilities, ethnicities, gender identities and expressions, sexual identities, class, language, citizenship, political views, religious affiliations, and more. It won't be perfect, but we are all in this together.
This is Gabe Castro for PhillyCAM Voices.